Hey y'all, hey, it's you, and she's back for another video. So in this video, I am going to discuss my 444 download. If you follow me on IG, you saw that I was up last night at 4 a.m., 4:04, and 4:44. And so when I went to sleep, the first word that came to me once I went into my dreamland was cassava. So I woke up and started researching cassava. My actual dream, because this word just came to me plain as day, cassava, and I was like, I'm going to look up who or whatever that is. Then I had a dream. Okay, in this dream there was a black woman and there was a white woman, and they were both in like a salon to get their toes done, a pedicure. So I was talking to the young lady standing in front of them, and it was two booths next to each other. And I was standing in front of them, and I was speaking on how I needed a black queen and I needed a melanated woman beside me, and da 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 da. And I started getting this sense of like jealousy over top of me from the black woman. And then that's when the woman started to seem familiar. You see, I'll blur her name out in the text. Also, I remember a certain distinction about the lady's feet. They seemed odd, and they seemed like they were up further than the black woman's. I don't even remember seeing her feet. And they seemed like it was really white at the base of her feet, and she had maybe only 3 toes. In this clip, you can read the times and see that I wrote down my dream as soon as I woke up, or typed most of it, and then some of it came back to me as I did my research. So furthermore, I asked the white lady, I said, can I ask you a question? She said, yes. As I was getting closer to her, she started to hesitate and try to say no, but I spoke over her and I said, are you human? And she says, no. And I go to say reptilian, and she says, no, Quarian, something with a Q. I was still trying to make out the names. So you'll see in the clips how I have figured out the names and figured out the meanings of certain things. So now we're going to get into these screenshots, the research. So you can see that this started at 9:29 a.m. April the 4th. I was in a dreamland. A white girl and a girl I was once familiar with was getting petties. I was talking about needing a black queen. I felt that energy, I guess jealousy from the black girl. The white girl was telling me how she needed melanin too. I asked if I could ask her a question. As I got closer, she got older. Her eyes were emerald green and lime green. She said yes till I got closer. She tried to change her mind, but I blurted out, are you human? The black girl looked over in shock. Now I felt Blank's energy. That was the point where I recognized her energy. The lady said no. I quickly said reptilian. She says no, Quadradon. That's what I wrote earlier. I looked puzzled but not surprised, and she stated it was the race of people or female who couldn't reproduce, and I believe she said it was in a reptilian family, maybe an offspring with human can't reproduce. I'm still picking through this dream. So first I woke up, and you know about the 444 portal, whatever, so y'all can read that. I researched cassava. So cassava is said to be a very spiritual and powerful plant. It basically produces its own enzymes to stop insects from attacking them, which in correspondence helps human to beat cancer, basically. It's also said to bring luck and some other benefits. The more research I did, I found out that basically cassava is a live plant. Of course, all plants are living, but this one has a certain spiritual energy behind it. And they say that if you go to a cassava field while you're sick, you could possibly die because that spirit will basically affect you. They say that to dream about cassava represents feelings about difficult situations where you have perfectly removed everything dishonest in order to do something easier. Basically like a tough or dangerous situation, but you can get yourself out of it if you be very careful. And cassava mama spirit is said to give you protection. Now, this is where things get interesting. Y'all can read all of that if y'all want to, but the main part that I pulled out says, like a seed of history, cassava was present at the beginning of the world, sustaining the cultural heroes Issachar and Anik. the first human beings to emerge from the primordial chaos. The numerous varieties of cassava, as told in a famous story, emerged from the mutilated corpse of a monstrous serpent. The giant snake seduced a human girl, who later gave birth to a snake baby, angered the girl's brothers, killed the serpent in retribution, chopping it into pieces, which they buried into a soil grave. Like stem cuttings, the dismembered segments sprouted into the various landraces of cassava plant that exist today. So then I went ahead on to research Icicaron and Anik, and it basically was talking about it being a common ancestral group of humanoids and Parathropus, which I later found the Australopithecus word, whatever that is. And you see that it says it includes modern humans. So then that's when I went into the research about cross species, because they was talking about chimpanzees and apes in a relation to humanoids and how they produce humanoids. So I went in to see if different species can reproduce. And no, they cannot. However, as we know, there are some animals who can reproduce asexually, which we already knew. So now I want to know what species exactly, because I've only really heard of a seahorse being able to get pregnant. And it says a male seahorse, I should say. And it says basically that a Komodo dragon, which is the largest of the world's lizards and an endangered species, is capable of reproducing asexually, making it the largest vertebrate animal known to reproduce in this universe, basically. So then I had to find out, okay, what is this species? So I tried to type in the first word that I could remember, which was something with QUA, and Quarian came up. So I clicked that. And interestingly enough, it was a name. Some guy named Frank Quarian came up all over the internet, and he's an American technology investment banker who started technology sector franchises. Y'all know what's going on with technology and the 5G. So then I was like, do he have any indictments? I didn't see any current indictments, but I just was like very interested in the technology part of his thing. So I was like, what does quattro mean? And it came up probably meaning quattro, four, 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 four. And possibly just chosen as a personal name. Like I said, he was the only person that came up. So then I went ahead to research if reptilians were real, and I came across this thing on Wikipedia where it says Boris right there, and Aquilian, the Greek god of the cold north wind. Aquilian kind of, I don't know, refresh my memory, but Boris did as well, because in the dream, I forgot to mention it was this lady. After she told me that she was a Quarian, this lady came up to me and was like something about bolderdom or something, and I tried to repeat it, and she corrected me. She said no, Boris, basically telling us that's what the Quarians believed that we were. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, let me dig into what Boris and Aquilian is. And I found some information on Anomia, and they are minor gods, which are subject to the god of Alias. I guess that's what they answer to. But of the four, there's four again, four chief Anomia, Boris, which is Aquilio in Latin, was the north wind and bringer of the cold air. He's said to look like a winged man with serpents instead of feet. And it says they were sometimes represented as gusts of wind, and at other times were personified as winged men. They were also sometimes depicted as horses kept in stables of the storm god Alias, who they answer to. Boris is depicted as being very strong with a violent temper to match. He was frequently shown as a winged old man with shaggy hair and a beard, holding a conch shell and wearing a billowing cloak. They wrote that Boris had snakes instead of feet, though in art he was usually depicted with winged human feet. It states that he was closely associated with horses, and he was said to even have fathered 12 colts after taking the form of a stallion. So there's the cross species. And then I went into, who was his children, and I came across his wife, Orthea, would become his immortal wife to Boris and gave birth to 4 children. The Greek wind god for the Greek wind god sons Zeus, Calus, and the daughters Shion and Cleopatra. I'm probably saying that all wrong. But yeah, they had 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, besides the horse children, right? So then I thought maybe his children would be whatever that species was that was in my dream. So I Googled, does he have any grandchildren? And I'm going to try to zoom in right there so y'all can see that word Boris rising, and it says antiquarianism. So I looked up Quarians. And first questions came up. Can Quarians and humans reproduce? Humans share no genetic history with Quarians or Turians or even Asari and Drell, so they can't reproduce. Quarians are generally shorter and of slighter build than humans. They dress in a scavenged assortment of materials, hiding their faces behind visors, goggles, or breathing masks. Over the generations, Quarians' immune systems have atrophied due to the years in the sterile environment of the migrant fleet. The major physical differences are in their legs. Quarians' legs bow backwards below the knee. Quarians also have fewer carpal and tarsal bones with only 3 fingers on each hand and 3 or 2 for males toes on each foot. Weird, right? I was like, this is blowing me away. Okay, so it says, the Quarians are a nomadic species of humanoid aliens known for their skills with technology and synthetic intelligence. Since their homeworld, Ranach, was conquered, the Quarians live aboard the migrant fleet, a huge collection of starships that travels as a single fleet. Then I was like, how many are there? Like, if this is something that we should be worried about, I need to know how many are there. And it said that there was 17 million. So these articles is basically talking about the differences between how they look and all that type of stuff. But then I will put that link to that article down in the bottom. It's like a little brief video that goes along with it. But, I was cautious. I wanted to know, like, are the Quarian plan on coming back to attack Earth? Because it is the 444 day. It's 4 of them, quadrian. It's all wrapping around that 4. So I was like, are they coming back to Earth? Are they going to kill us? How do we kill them if we need to? And basically, all you have to do is take off their mask, remove their mask, and basically fill them with our oxygen. So tell me what you guys think about this, because to me, I don't know. To me, it seems this really does have something to do with the coronavirus. I find it very interesting that it came around the wintertime. It's the god of the winter. Boris is the god of the winter. His children have no home. That the planet is basically killing off certain species that, to me, sound like Quarians. That's just my opinion, that the Quarians had a weak immune system and that they had to wear masks. Like, they never took their mask off, and if they did, they had to risk dying. They never took their suits off. They had entire suits on, because of their immune systems being so weak from viruses and stuff that was around them. But I really advise y'all to go click this link and just listen to it, listen to the video, read a little bit, and just come back and tell me what you guys think about this, because this is interesting. And until next time, like, comment, and subscribe. I love my tribe.